The camera slowly moves through the cold, towering halls of an ancient cathedral in southern France. Dust floats in the golden rays of sunlight piercing through stained glass windows. The air feels charged, not holy, not peaceful, but alive. A man stands alone in the center of the structure, holding a small electromagnetic scanner in his trembling hands. His name is Dr. Elias Varenne, a forgotten physicist once respected, now dismissed as a conspiracy theorist. And what he was about to discover would shake everything we think we know about history. "Turn it on," a voice whispers from behind the camera. Elias hesitates for a moment. Then he presses the button. A low hum fills the cathedral. At first nothing seems unusual, just the echo of the device bouncing off centuries-old stone. But then the readings spike, violently. "What, is that frequency?" Elias mutters, staring at the screen. "The numbers don't make sense. They shouldn't exist, because the signal being detected isn't random. It's structured, precise, engineered, and it's coming from the walls." But what nobody knew at that moment was this wasn't just one building. This was happening in hundreds of cathedrals across Europe. And the pattern was too perfect to be a coincidence. To understand this mystery, we have to go back, way back, to the year 1137. In a small village near Chartres, France, a young apprentice named Lucien Moreau was watching something he was never supposed to see, the construction of what would later be known as one of the most magnificent cathedrals in Europe, the Chartres Cathedral. But Lucien wasn't watching the builders. He was watching the men behind them, men who never touched stone, men who carried strange metallic rods, circular devices, and blueprints that looked nothing like architecture. They spoke in whispers, always at night. And one evening, hidden behind a half-built pillar, Lucien heard something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "This isn't a church," one of them said. "It's a receiver." Lucien froze. "A receiver for what?" another man asked. The first one paused, then slowly replied, "For energy, for healing, for something they don't want the public to understand." Lucien didn't fully grasp what that meant, but he knew one thing. This wasn't religion. This was something else, something far more advanced. Centuries later, Dr. Elias Varenne is no longer standing alone. His discovery has drawn attention, not from historians, not from the church, but from a small, secretive research group based in Geneva. They call themselves the Resonance Project, and they've been studying this phenomenon for years, but they never had proof until now. Inside a dimly lit underground lab, Elias watches as a digital model of the cathedral rotates slowly on a holographic screen. Lines of energy pulse through its structure, connecting arches, pillars, and stained glass windows in a perfect geometric network. "This is impossible," Elias whispers. "No," replies a woman standing beside him. Dr. Amara Klein, a quantum biophysicist with a reputation for breaking boundaries. "It's not impossible," she says calmly. "It's intentional." She zooms into the model. "You see these points, these intersections?" Elias nods. "They align with something very specific. Ley lines?" he guesses. Amara shakes her head. "Human biofrequency centers." Elias frowns. "What?" "These structures," she continues, "are tuned to interact with the human body." She pulls up another data set. Brainwave patterns, heart rate variability, cellular resonance frequencies. They weren't built just to inspire faith, she says. They were built to heal. The room falls silent, because if that's true, then everything we've been told about these cathedrals is a lie. But the deeper they dig, the darker it gets, because hidden within the archives of a forgotten monastery in Italy, they find a manuscript untranslated, sealed, untouched for over 600 years, and when they finally decode it, the truth begins to unfold. These structures, the manuscript reads, must remain under control, because in the wrong hands, they can do more than heal. Elias looks up slowly. What does that mean? Amara doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulls up a final scan, one taken just hours ago, from deep beneath the cathedral floor, a chamber, hidden, sealed, but now activated, and whatever is inside, it's starting to wake up. Meanwhile, back in 1137, Lucien Moreau is running, breathing heavily through the narrow streets of the village. Because he's been discovered, they know he heard them, and now they want him silenced. But as he turns a corner, he collides with an old man, a man dressed not like a priest, but like something else, something ancient. "Please," Lucien gasps. "They're coming!" The old man looks at him, not with fear, but with understanding. "They shouldn't have let you hear that," he says quietly. "Come with me." Lucien hesitates, but he has no choice, because in the distance, footsteps are getting closer, and what happens next will tie a medieval secret to a modern-day discovery in a way no one could have ever imagined. The old man didn't walk. He moved with purpose, fast, precise, as if he already knew exactly where they needed to go. Lucien struggled to keep up, his small boots slipping on the uneven stone paths as the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them. "Who are you?" Lucien whispered, trying not to lose his breath. The old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned sharply into a narrow alley, pressed his hand against a seemingly ordinary wall, and something shifted. A low mechanical sound rumbled beneath the stone. The wall opened, not like a door, like a mechanism, ancient, hidden, perfectly engineered. Lucien's eyes widened. This isn't possible." "Nothing about this is supposed to be known," the old man replied calmly. "Now move." They slipped inside just as shadows passed the alley entrance behind them. The wall sealed shut. Silence, complete silence. But it wasn't empty. The space they entered was unlike anything Lucien had ever seen. It wasn't a cellar. It wasn't a tunnel. It was a chamber, circular, perfectly symmetrical. And at its center stood a structure made of stone and metal, intertwined in a way that didn't belong to that century. Thin rods stretched outward like veins, connecting to the walls. Faint vibrations pulsed through them. A low hum filled the air. Lucien felt it in his chest, in his bones. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice trembling. The old man finally turned to face him fully. "My name is Alaric," he said, "and what you are standing in is the heart of what they are building above us." Lucien shook his head. "No, the cathedral. It's a church." Alaric's expression hardened. "No," he interrupted. "It's a system." Centuries later, Dr. Elias Varenne leaned closer to the monitor, his eyes locked on the underground scan. "Enhance that section," he said. The technician adjusted the imaging. The hidden chamber beneath the cathedral became clearer, circular, symmetrical, and at its center, a structure, almost identical to the one described in the manuscript. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. "This matches," he whispered. Amara nodded slowly. "Yes." "But here's the problem," she added. "This chamber wasn't supposed to activate." Elias turned to her. "What do you mean?" She pulled up a timeline, energy readings, flat, for decades. Then suddenly, a spike, massive, unstable. "It started 3 days ago," Amara said. "No external trigger, no seismic activity, no human interference." "Then what caused it?" Amara didn't answer, because at that exact moment, the lights in the lab flickered, just for a second, but long enough for everyone to notice. And then, a sound, low, deep, almost familiar. Elias froze. "I've heard that before." Back in 1137, Lucien stepped closer to the central structure, drawn by the strange vibration. "It's warm," he said, placing his hand near one of the rods. "Don't touch it," Alaric snapped, but it was too late. The moment Lucien's fingers brushed the surface, the chamber reacted. A sudden pulse shot through the structure. The rods began to glow faintly, and the hum intensified. Lucien stumbled back. "What did I do?" Alaric's face turned pale. No, this isn't right." The walls began to resonate, not violently, but rhythmically, like a heartbeat, and then a sound, the same sound, low, deep, ancient. Lucien covered his ears. "What is that?" Alaric looked toward the ceiling, toward the cathedral above. "They've started the alignment, but it's too early. In the present day." Elias stepped away from the monitor. "That sound, it's the same frequency from the cathedral." Amara's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. We're miles away." "Then how are we hearing it?" No one in the lab had an answer, but the instruments did, because suddenly every screen in the room lit up, waveforms, spiking, synchronizing across multiple locations: France, Italy, Germany, England. All of them, the technician whispered. All the cathedrals, they're activating. Elias felt his heart racing. This isn't localized, it's a network. Amara stepped back slowly. A global resonance system. But why now? Back underground in 1137. Alaric grabbed Lucian by the shoulders. Listen to me very carefully, he said urgently. What you touched, you woke something. I didn't mean to— I know, Alaric interrupted, but intent doesn't matter anymore. The chamber continued to pulse, stronger now, faster. They were trying to control it, Alaric said. Limit it. Use it in small doses. For healing? Alaric hesitated. Yes, at first. Lucian's eyes widened. At first, Alaric looked at the glowing structure. They discovered something during the early tests. What? Alaric's voice dropped. That this energy doesn't just heal, it amplifies. Amplifies what? Alaric didn't answer immediately, because at that exact moment, footsteps echoed outside the hidden entrance. They had found them. In the present day, the lab doors slammed open. Security rushed in. Dr. Klein, we have a situation. Amara turned sharply. What happened? The guard hesitated, then said something that made the entire room go silent. There's been an incident at the cathedral. Elias stepped forward. What kind of incident? The guard swallowed. People are collapsing. Collapsing? Elias repeated. Yes, but not from injury. Then from what? The guard looked unsure. Some are reporting intense sensations. Like what? He hesitated again, then finally said, They say they feel everything. Back in 1137, the hidden door burst open. Men flooded into the chamber, the same men Lucian had seen before, but now they weren't whispering. They were panicking. It's activating too soon, one of them shouted. Shut it down, another yelled. Alaric stepped in front of Lucian. You shouldn't have come here, he said coldly. One of the men pointed at Lucian. He touched it, didn't he? Silence. That was all the confirmation they needed. Then he's part of it now. Lucian's heart stopped. What does that mean? But no one answered, because the structure in the center began to glow brighter, and the hum turned into something else. Not just a sound, a signal in the present day. Elias stared at the incoming data. It's not random, he said. It's transmitting something. Amara's voice was barely above a whisper. A message. But to who? The screens flickered again, and then one of them went black, then another, and another, until only one remained, a single screen, displaying a pattern, symbols, ancient, unrecognizable, except to one person in the room. Elias stepped closer. His face went pale. No, he whispered. Amara looked at him. What is it? Elias didn't take his eyes off the screen. I've seen this before. Where? Elias swallowed hard. In the manuscript. Amara's expression changed instantly. That's not possible. We just translated it. Elias shook his head slowly. No, not all of it. He pointed at the symbols. This part was missing. The room fell into complete silence, because if the system was now revealing something that had been hidden for centuries, then whatever was happening was never meant to stay buried. And somewhere deep beneath the cathedral, that hidden chamber, continued to pulse, stronger, louder, as if something inside it was trying to come through. The symbols on the screen didn't just sit there. They moved, slowly at first, almost like they were being drawn by an invisible hand. Lines extended, curved, connected, forming patterns that felt less like language and more like instructions. Dr. Elias Varenne leaned closer, his breath shallow. This isn't just text, he whispered. It's a sequence. Dr. Amara Klein's voice tightened. A sequence for what? Elias didn't answer immediately, because deep down he already knew. Hundreds of miles away, inside the cathedral, the air had changed. People who had gathered for a normal day, tourists, worshippers, guides, were no longer standing calmly. Some had fallen to their knees, others clutched their heads. A few stood completely still, eyes open, unblinking, as if they were listening to something no one else could hear, and at the center of it all, beneath layers of stone and centuries of silence, the chamber was fully awake. The rods glowed intensely now, vibrating with a frequency that could no longer be measured by modern instruments. It wasn't just energy anymore, it was synchronization. Back in 1137, Lucian could barely breathe. The men surrounding him had stopped shouting, stopped moving, because they felt it too, that overwhelming wave, that pressure, that connection. Alaric grabbed Lucian again, his voice urgent, but different now, not fearful, resigned. "It's too late," he said quietly. "What is happening?" Lucian cried. Alaric looked at the structure, then back at the boy. "You asked me what this place was," he said. "Yes. This is not just a machine. Then what is it?" Alaric's eyes darkened. "It's an interface." Lucian froze. "Interface? With what?" Alaric didn't respond, because in that moment the structure emitted a pulse so powerful it knocked everyone to the ground. And then silence, complete, absolute. In the present day, every system in the lab shut down, all at once. No lights, no screens, no sound, just darkness. Elias stood frozen. Backup generators should have kicked in, but they didn't, because whatever had just happened wasn't a power failure, it was a takeover. And then, a voice, not through speakers, not through any device, but directly, inside their minds, not loud, not aggressive, but undeniable. "We remember," Amara gasped, stepping back. "Did you hear that?" Elias nodded slowly. "Yes." The voice came again, stronger this time. "You built the structures, but you forgot their purpose." Elias felt his chest tighten. This isn't possible." But the voice continued. "We were meant to heal." A pause. Then, "But you changed us." Back in 1137, Lucian opened his eyes. He was still on the ground. The chamber was quiet now, too quiet. The glow had dimmed. The hum was gone. The men around him weren't moving. "Alaric?" Lucian whispered. No response. He slowly stood up, his legs shaking. "Alaric?" Then he saw him, lying near the edge of the chamber, still, unmoving. Lucian ran to him. "Please, wake up!" But Alaric's eyes were open, frozen, as if the life had been pulled out of him. Lucian stepped back in horror. What did this? And then he heard it. Not from the structure, not from the walls, from inside his own mind. "We see you." Lucian froze. His voice trembled. "Who are you?" There was a pause, a long, heavy pause. Then the answer came. "We are what remains." In the present day, the same words echoed in Elias's mind. "We are what remains." Amara grabbed his arm. "This is intelligence. Elias, this is not just energy." Elias shook his head, overwhelmed. "No, this is something else." "What do they want?" Before he could answer, the final symbol on the screen completed itself. The pattern locked, and suddenly every system in the lab came back online, all at once. But something had changed. The data was no longer chaotic. It was organized, clean, precise, like it was being controlled. Elias stared at the readings. "They're stabilizing the network." Amara's voice dropped. "Why would they do that?" Elias didn't respond, because deep down he understood. Across Europe, the cathedrals stopped pulsing. The people inside them slowly regained awareness. Some collapsed from exhaustion, some cried, some claimed they felt something they couldn't explain, pain, memories, emotions that weren't theirs. As if, for a brief moment, they had been connected to something far beyond themselves. Back in 1137, Lucian stood alone in the chamber. Everyone else was gone. Not dead, not alive, just gone. The structure in the center had returned to its silent state. But Lucian knew it wasn't inactive. It was waiting. And somehow, he knew it was waiting for him. In the present day, Elias turned slowly toward Amara. "They didn't attack us." "No," she whispered. They corrected something. Elias nodded. They were never the threat. Amara looked at the data, then back at him. Then who changed them? Elias didn't answer, because at that exact moment, a final line of text appeared on the screen. Not symbols, not code, clear, readable, undeniable. You altered the system. A pause, then you turned healing into control. Elias felt his heart drop, because now it all made sense. The structures, the secrecy, the modifications over centuries. This was never just about faith. It was about power, and someone, long ago, had taken something designed to heal humanity and reshaped it into something else entirely. The camera slowly pulls back from the lab to the cathedrals, to the vast network hidden beneath history, ancient structures, standing silently across continents, no longer asleep, no longer forgotten, and no longer under human control, because whatever had awakened was now aware. And for the first time in centuries, it was no longer waiting to be used. It was deciding what to do next.